hello, and welcome to Every Day with an Angel. And I hope to be helping you doing what you're doing because we're all in the midst of doing life and the story. And I just forgot to move my drum. I'm going to go move it because I know I want to honor it, but yet the singing bowls are kind of doing their thing. So here, I'm going to move this. Um, oh, maybe I need to do the drum. That's why I was thinking. But Regan's going to be here soon. So here's a drum. And I'm hoping that that helps you. I know that kind of sometimes can affect people differently. But here's the singing bowls. To start the show. So, welcome. I'm grateful you're here. And for those that are going to be coming on, I appreciate it as the show just started. And I'm Natasha Venter. I'm an intuitive medium. I am one who really likes to support you through their journey. And a lot of people say, what hat are you going to wear today? Well, today's the hat of finding out what the body is talking about. Regan is going to be here. But he had a client that he texted me earlier today and said that, well, they came in a little bit late. They arrived a little bit late, so the session might run a little bit late, but will be popping in here. And I'm grateful whenever he can be here. So with that, today's show, oh, here he is. Here he is. Hi, Regan.
Hi.
I popped you in as you're getting a drink, but here we are.
Well, I had to have a little bite of peanut butter or something. I just had a 5-hour session. We started a little bit late, but I'm lucky. It was a very unique session. This woman's amazing. Just seems like she's an off-planet person. I mean, not vanilla at all. Very, very in search of herself. And I told her, I gave her the information for the podcast. She just left, and I said, because they came up from Southern California, both of them have sessions, her today and him tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We got stuck in the session. There was some otherworldly stuff that happened, but there was some resistance there. So I told her, I says, well, if she's out and about, if she clicks in where her and her boyfriend are, that I would maybe have you see what you sense from her, what her blocks are or something,
Okay, I can do that.
All this pain
And
getting worse in her shoulders and stuff. And I said, well, this is what we're talking about today.
yes, the body is so amazing right now, and people are not paying attention to their bodies. And we've been up in the head a lot over the years. And
Yeah.
and I'm an intuitive medium. I actually read the body quite well. My dad was a chiropractor, so I grew up at the age of 5, him going to chiropractic school. So with that I have learned about the body, the energies of the body. Hi, Paula. Glad you're here on time, and thank you for being here, Paula. Glad you're here. And so I've known about the body's energy. My dad used to use me as a surrogate muscle tester. I remember being very young, and somebody who was hurt, he says, put your hand right here, and then, push here, push here, push, oh, there we are. Okay, so we need to work on here, right? So, I've learned about the body in many different ways. And I know that you have, through your hypnotherapy, clinical hypnotherapy, and hi, Veronica, and you doing the work that you're doing here, that it's one of those things that going forward that I know
Right.
we're perfectly imperfect in this show. And that's one thing that I love about being on this show is that we're all human and we all got to do it. But that's what we like to talk about, is the humanness that we're in, right?
Right.
And
So what you're
so,
saying,
going into the body, I just got done dealing with the sniffles, I call it. Everybody else was getting bombarded by fevers and colds and stuff. And I know I have a great immune system, but at the same time, though, my body was telling me I had to deal with the sniffles. And so I was really working on staying healthy. I had that mindset. And and then I doubled up on vitamins, and a lot of people say, well, my food has enough. And I go, yeah, but when your body is taxed, it's amazing how we need to take care of it just a little bit more, right? And there's a lot of things that we've been sitting in with energy and with just past life stuff, and past life could be 2 years ago, right? Seems like time is moving so fast that what are we going to do with this energy that we feel right now, right? So with that, I'm hoping that if they're watching that, they can get a little bit more, insight on who they are and what they're doing. Cause, you know, it, it's about trust a lot of times, and that's one thing when I had a session with you that I had to use the word, I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting the process,
Yeah.
and when I'm getting a massage, I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting, uh it's hi it's one of those things. So it's Amanda. So hi, Amanda.
Oh,
um
so is this Amanda who just finished the session, or is this another Amanda?
no
Text back in if she
it-
does.
yeah, no, I feel like it's Amanda. So going into this, that we're taking on so much of our knowings and stuff, and there's so many things I know that I have over the last couple months been really working on a lot of things that were in my childhood. Yes, same Amanda.
Okay.
Yeah. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you for watching us. And even me have been stirring up a lot of things from even my childhood and working through a lot of that PTSD, ADHD scenario, and I had actually a show on the PTSD and ADHD trauma. I'm not talking about like in the army type of PTSD or the rape or trauma, the big trauma. I'm talking about the little traumas that we go through that creates the PTSD. And hi there. It's one of those things that going forward that we don't know where we're going with life, and so with that if you're getting stirred up, it's the time for us to clear things out. And what
Yeah.
a gift that they came to have a session with you, and it will pay off. I know that even me being the medium and doing the work I do, the session that Regan, gave me, there was one thing that we just walked over, a past life or a dimensional life that we walked over. And I'm keeping going back and visiting her, me in another dimension, and saying, how can I get some of those tools? So,
Yeah. She's the perfect one today because Amanda, I'm going to tell just a little. When she came in today, she has a lot of pains in her shoulders and everything, and it's been there, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And um, Amanda, formulate a question for Natasha about your pain in your shoulders and stuff, and see what she can maybe come up with. Because what we're talking about today is how when we have different pains and things in our body, it's usually a manifestation of something that's out of balance in our in our emotional self a lot of times, and it's different problems that we have show up in different places. Now, it's not
mhm.
always that, but we can generally get some feeling. Like I had a client, and she was raspy, and when I had her close her eyes, and I said, well, this pain that you're feeling and everything like this, this emotional pain and everything, where does it feel like it's coming from? And she goes, oh, it's all, it was like here, you know.
Uh-huh.
And come to find out that as we did more therapy, that one of her biggest problems was is ever since she was a child, it seemed like everybody she ran into was telling her to shut up. You know,
Mhm.
like when you're a child and you want to say something, the parents shut you down. Shut you
and
down.
and that's happened a couple times in her past lives.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when we get into that, and she was also hung in a past life, and there's been a lot of neck trauma, the voice, the throat chakra, you know, trauma. And so when we go into that there's a lot of that doesn't want to speak our truth because we've been taught to keep it
Well,
dimmed down, right?
what I did in a few sessions is we worked on boundary setting and that, and her learning to speak up when she has something to say and make sure that people don't shut her down. And after a few months, and she was practicing that, especially with her boyfriend, her husband, who would always finish her sentences. She would start speaking, and then she would get pushed aside, and he would finish them. And after a few months, it all got better. Just all the tightness went away and everything there, because she began speaking up. That way.
Mhm.
So I know you know more than I do, especially about that. The body thing, because I know in other shows we've had, you've talked about that and done some studying on that.
Yeah, and when we have this up in here, it could come from the base of the neck. My dad being a chiropractor, so I'll look at it a little bit chiropractic. We can be out in the neck, the thoracics. We can be out in the middle of the back, energetically. We can also, like my husband, energetically. I'd keep taking the the knife out of his back, because every time he became more empowered, he would metaphorically keep stabbing this knife in his back that he did in past lives, that he had a knife in his back from being a warrior, right? But that, metaphorical, every time he became more empowered, he would metaphorically put that knife back in, which would put that energetically in there. And then body wise, he would get out of adjustment, he would go into muscle spasms, he would go into pain, he would have pain coming down his arms, right? Because of the and sometimes it's not one problem. People don't always have one scenario. Oh, it's the chiropractor, or you're out, or you have this, or you have that. Sometimes it's all in faceted. And that's
Yeah.
one thing that I love about this book. Now,
Oh,
Louise Hayes also has a book, Your Body, but I like Ina Siegel. She's from Australia, I think. And I like the way that she works through this, and um uh, going into the story of our body. And what I like about her is that she gives some language for it. And I know that Louise Hayes also does have language, but a lot of times there's a metaphor for who we are and what we're doing. And so let's go into this. Is a perfect example. So let's go into, would you call it shoulder pain or neck pain, Amanda? Would you call it more like, is it more shoulder or low neck? But let's go into shoulder here. And I can tell you that if you look at my back through like about here, it's kind of where my shoulder blades come down. Well, that's lungs and liver in that area. It represents that area. So look at how I always kind of look at how am I breathing, and what is my liver being taxed by, right?
mhm.
So going into that, let's see, let me go into, I skipped right over it as I was talking. Isn't that the way it goes, right? So going into this, there is a lot going in. But I'm going to ask you, Amanda, if you are holding on to a lot of people's. Now, you haven't really given I got permission through Regan, so I'm just going to give you the
Yeah.
light stuff. We're not going into a session here. This is not deep, but I would ask you, how much are you holding on to other people's ideas and other people's, and the word that wants to come to me intuitively is shame. How many other people's, and how many, it's like a backpack on your shoulders. How many rocks of other people's stuff, including your stuff, but other people's beliefs, are you still holding on to? And it's that transforming it and brushing it away can help. Let's see. I've had chronic scapular shoulder discomfort, and I noticed over working as an ER nurse, and has come and gone over the years. However, this time my travel contract was canceled, and I have been.
She's writing more, I think.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know that's one thing on YouTube, that you can't write a whole bunch. You can only write so
Oh,
much.
yeah.
So let me go back into scapula then. And that's the thing is that you being a nurse, oh my gosh, how much have you been carrying other people, right? Okay, so let's see here. Off work for almost 2.5 months. I've been getting regular professional massages and acupuncture without much relief. Okay, and I'm going to stop there on that conversation. Okay, so if we've been doing something we haven't gotten much relief, then I would really look at where's your emotional base, where's your nervous system base, because a lot of us are being hindered by our nervous system wanting to stay in protection. And so like when I go into a massage, I automatically have to start saying, I trust, I trust, I trust, I trust, relax, I trust. I'm releasing what I can with grace and ease. I'm releasing and shifting what I can with grace and ease. And this is the mantra that I use during the time, because if we go in and go, I'm expecting some relief, I'm expecting some relief. Well, what are we working on? Right? We have to work on that emotional nervous system, right? So going into that without much relief, I kind of described that. And the other night I had an out of the ordinary dream where
Yeah,
I was
yeah, it's there. It's very interesting what the experience she had in her dream, which I thought you might have a good interpretation for too. So
okay. So then if you want to, can you give permission for Regan to talk about that real quick? A yes or a no, please, on that dream. And then I can kind of analyze it for you. Uh, um, and then I'm going to look up scapula
yeah,
if I
there's
can.
a lot of changes going on in her life. I think for the good though. She's amazing. She's a really good soul. And have you noticed that too, Natasha? Like when big changes are coming in your life, that there's a lot of your life for a while kind of falls apart.
Yes.
So that's
Definitely.
her mind.
Yes, have permission. Woke up with, abdominal I cannot speak today. My tongue is like
Okay,
not one go ahead.
okay. Woke up with abdominal sharp numbing pain all the way down my arm. Yeah, it's when she was telling me about it in the dream. It was like she grabbed on. There was a bunch of energy there. And she like grabbed onto it, and then as she woke up, she had this. It was like shooting pain all the way down. Uh, her hand got even numb.
Mhm.
It even aggravated her for her other stuff.
Abnormal. There we go. Well, I'm dyslexic. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm dyslexic, so Regan has learned to read with for me because
Yeah,
I don't
very,
know
very
it.
sometimes.
Even you could even said it right, and I would have been, off on it. Uh, Scapular region has been a ton to do with the posture issues. So going into this, okay. So I'm gonna hold off on trying to look up on my book. Okay.
Okay.
So going into this, that Amanda, I want you to remember that you're in a process of needing to trust. And this is going to be a quick reading here. You're going in the process of learning to trust. And like Paula said, thank you, Paula. Region has a ton to do with posture issues. So, posture, if you look at the word posture, it's like, how are we standing up in our life? How are we trusting to stand in our own strength? How are we trusting to stand into our empowerment? How are we trusting to stand? But when we stand up and hold our shoulders back, right? We're becoming our own empowerment, and we're releasing other people's empowerment. We're releasing other people's things, other people's beliefs, other people's stories, right? And a lot of times right now, the universe is pulling us away from what we used to do to get us into where we're going. So going into this, Amanda, what I'm wanting you to know is that okay, going back, there's something about you. Okay, these are just some words here, that I'm not gonna go into depth because it's not a big I'm not gonna do an hour session here, it's just a quick little step in. Are times when and I see you at 3, 7, 14, and 18 are the ones 17, 18 years. So those are the years that I see you in, that you struggled with I would check in with the word that's coming to me. And like I said, this is going to be really quick, so I cannot discern and I cannot go into big details. And I'm going to kind of pull back a little bit here. Becoming a caregiver, being a caregiver. So you knew that you had to take care of things. You had to negotiate things. You had to take on the people. You had to take on other people. You had to become the perfectionist. You had to become the whatever that tone is. And remember, perfectionism can be 100% or it can be 5%. So wherever you're at on that scale, we all have perfectionism in us, but at the same time, though, we have to look at where that's at. And then I'm going to come back to the word shame, and you becoming a nurse you became a caregiver again. So I would invite you to look at the words being a giver of care, changing your presentation of who you are as being a giver of care. So you can do that. And then when you look at here, right in here, right, and I've had a lot of scenarios in that when we not our true self, and dear, you're an angel. So when we don't let our wings out and we don't let our wings shine and we don't let our angel self be ourselves. Now we're all different parts of us. Our soul is all different parts. Like I said, this is a quick version and Regan can kind of explain a little bit more what I'm talking about tomorrow. That, going into this, that your ability to be who you are, let your wings work. How do you confine yourself? How do you have to stay in the strands of what you're supposed to be, that perfectionism, right? Let yourself breathe, let yourself out, let yourself maneuver to be your better self, right? And when you go to that dream and you held on to energy, right? And you got this sharp energy. Well, what is it? And I don't have the full detail of your dream. Is there more detail of the dream, Regan, that she told you?
Well, there are some more details, which I don't remember all, but I remember the gist of it was this energy bolt or this whatever, was that she wasn't like observing or anything. She was interactive with it and grabbing onto it, and felt the energy. I just see her as a person. I mean, I'm not as in, I mean, I'm learning to be, you're teaching me to be more intuitive or whatever, but I was so impressed with her today because she looks like she's like on the verge of flying, of taking off to being really great in her life, because she's had a lot of negativity in her life, from people that are constantly pulling down on her, you
And
know.
that's that being, holding on to other people's shame, under other people's stuff, that you get pulled in and you keep carrying other people's negativity and
Yeah,
that story. The other I should Instead of the shame, maybe I should say other people's stories.
yeah. And she's tired of it now, so she's starting to really just, hey, I'm going to be my own person now, I mean,
Congratulations, you're graduating.
it's going to be
And that's
going to
that's
be
that
great.
part of that energy is that the universe I'm getting is that they were and I got this even before Regan evolved a little bit more with it, but I was getting that this energy was part of the universe giving you back your energy that was sapped out of you. And I
Oh,
understand that energy isn't always comfortable, and it's gonna break things apart, which is not always comfortable, and it's not gonna be like when I have a migraine, I always ask for my brain to be rewired, and the nervous system to be rewired for the greater good. Instead of going into the, oh, pain of it, I try to go into being rewired
you know
and
what
negoti
what image I just got? Um, it's when you said that, it might make sense with her too, because like even in the Bible, when Saint Paul had an awakening, and it's like a lightning bolt hit him and knocked him off his horse, and he had to go for 40 days in the desert. In other words, it was so much power knocked him off his horse, but that was his wake up call. That was his change in that way. So maybe it has something to do with that, because I don't know. I really feel she's getting in for some good stuff if she just hangs in there.
And
She's
that's the thing is it's about flipping ourselves inside out almost. And it's not easy to take our skin off of what we've been and put it and to have that new skin underneath. And I'm getting the chills as I'm talking about this. I mean, it's like it's rising up. So
yeah,
Amanda, remember it's about trusting though, because we have to be vulnerable. We
yeah,
have to be and I'm using the word have to, because I can understand that the only way to get through it is we have to be able to trust the process. And
yeah.
good job being called to be with Regan here, who's the most, oh my gosh, I love you, Regan. You're just the most kindest, more, I mean, but you've had to learn to stand on your own 2 feet too, you know?
Mhm.
And finding the balance. And so Amanda, remembering that it's all about energy. And that's the thing is that when because I've had a lot of shoulder pain in my lifetime. I mean, my hands have actually turned blue. I've had where things have been cut off. The energy has been cut off and in my armpits and in my neck and that stuff. So I understand discomfort. I mean, I can't still sometimes hold on to a pot. I have to, if I'm filling up a pot, I usually have to balance it on the side of the sink a little bit. And so with that, but what I've learned is that that's part of my not holding on to life, right? That it's about holding on to it fully. And I know for me that there's been a lot of things that I cannot do, right? But what I can do though is that I can have help doing it. It's not time to do it alone. And so, Paula, thank you very much for bringing this in. Good posture with shoulder blades back and down. Tuck the chin. This will help the chakra align as well. Thank you. That's huge. Yes, thank you. And then Amanda says, yes, I agree. Working towards it every day. You both are so lovely. Thank you. Appreciate your insights too, Paula. It's amazing. But when we're going into something like this, we have to know what we're holding on to sometimes is greater than us, right? It's
Mhm.
greater than us. And when something is greater than us, I ask for divine healing on this. I take myself out of the control and I take myself, even me who has the insights, right? Take myself out of the control. And I ask for divine healing on this. And then I metaphorically start taking things off, putting it into the blue flame of life, right? Take it off energetically, right? And you want to, and if you're painful here, you're going to be where you want to stretch this out here, right? You're going to want to stretch this out here, but be careful. Little bits at a little time. You've been in structure of pain. And so when you're in discomfort, your body has been, your nervous system, remember, we're working with the nervous system too, right? Because the nervous system wants to be in protection, right? That the nervous system that's been protective of you, it's going to need to be practiced to be safe. So do little movements, right? Little movements, like Paula was saying, bring your chin back, shoulders back. I wouldn't go 100% doing it. I would do it a little bit and a little bit and then practice a little bit more, right? And so going into this, that our bodies are really telling us that what are we holding on to? And a lot of our pain and discomfort in our body is stress, other people's intentions, other people's knowings, other people's expectations, other people's things, and or that hinders us from moving on, like our knees, right? Our knees are about flexibility. Our knees are about moving. It's about lifting up and moving, right? And if we're not willing to lift up and make that next step, we might have discomfort in our knees. Also, our legs are great energy releasers. So if we get gummed up energy, like we can here, I know us women, like I do a lot of this where I go down and under my breasts and then up underneath my arms and then I pull in my arms, right? To release that energy because there's that flow, right? Well, how much have you been releasing the tension of the energy in your body? Every shower I go in through this process and I make sure with the water energy to release. Just like if you scratch your back to wash it, what are you taking off? Who else are you taking off? How many people have you carried? How many people, Amanda, how many people have you witnessed not surviving, and your heart broke for them, right? How many times did your heart break for them? Well, instead of saying your heart breaks for them, say my love hurts for you. My love hurts for you. My heart is safe, right? My heart is safe, but
Like physical, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
my love is the one that goes to you. My heart goes to you. No, my love goes to you. The love of the angels goes to you. So keep your body yours, right? And move on.
One thing that I'm just thinking of in our, since she's given me permission here today, there were some cool things that were happening in her session, but she was seeing mostly energies on the other side, but they were not real well formed. And it was kind of like there was like they would kind of come and kind of go. And she finally got this feeling inside that there was a blockage of some sort keeping her from going further or from things being clearer or something. Can you pick up anything about what she might be working on, that there's part of her that's holding her back from just letting it happen, you know?
The thing that I come back to is trust. And it's that trust of self, it's the trust of the universe, it's trust of the path in life, it's the trust that I'll be okay.
Mhm.
There's sometimes where I wonder if I'm going to be okay, and I have to look back and say, hell, I've always survived it.
Yeah. And one thing that's good though, I mean, there's she's attracted a good relationship in her life where she finally has somebody that's that talks to her, that's trusting, that's kind, and is so totally different than what she's been used to. So to me, that's a sign of this new. I think she's going to be attracting all kinds of good people like that in her life.
But that's the thing is that we have to believe that we're worthy and deserving of it.
Yeah.
And that's another place is I'm worthy of being healed. I'm worthy of great health. I have healed a lot of my body stress. Like if I went and let's say if I rub my back on something, I can turn my hands pink and blue and purple, right? My fingers are constantly always swollen, it depends on what I eat, but they're always swollen because of the stress that is here. But what I've done is I say, "Hey body, let's go forward here. I'm ready to heal. I may always need to recognize you. I may always need to be conscious of you. I may always need to communicate with you. Hey, we're going to go out and do yard work today. I promise to not do the really heavy lifting that you don't want me to do, but we're going to do some stuff. And then on the next day, I'll take care of you and not do as much."
Yeah.
Right. And so it's that communication with the body. And Amanda, when was the last time you asked your shoulders what's wrong?
Oh yeah. Kind of start communicating with your body, huh? See what you get.
Communicate with the body.
Hmm.
Because I can sometimes when I communicate with that part of my shoulders and the stress, it says, "You've always done so much that we needed to tamper you back." Right? And so, oh, okay. I needed to be tampered back. But what does that mean? Does that mean that I have to stay back 100%? Or can I just stay back, honor you, and not lift up the 50-pound bag of rocks, right? Okay. But can I lift up the 20-pound bag of cat litter instead?
Hmm.
I don't need to do 100%. I can do a minimum. I can do less of it, but I need to do something. And so I'm going to honor you because I don't have to go 100% into this, right? So, um, the one thing that I've also understood that my husband would have to take off my shirt because I couldn't move my arm to take off my shirt. He says, I can watch the spasms go across your shoulder blades.
Wow.
Zing, 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 right? So I understand, Amanda, the body aching like that. But the one thing that I did, what I realized is that I had to walk through the wall of pain. A lot of people stay at this side of the pain, right? but they don't walk to the other side of the pain and ask the pain to walk with them. Be friendly with that. Work into it. And a lot of times when we can work into what we're working with, we can really find more grace with way. And that's one thing I always ask for is grace and ease with knowledge. Grace and ease with knowledge, right?
Yeah, I had another example of and I want to see what you know about this. I had a client that there's a name for this, and it's a Swedish name, but it's where you don't have enough tears. So he walks around all day with putting tears in his eyes, and he has no saliva like in his mouth. He just had to have 8 teeth pulled because of that. And when we got to the other side, we went before the council and we asked for a healer. The healer in heaven comes up to him and he asked, okay, why do I have this issue? And he just said, it's because of the hatred you have for your father. And which is true. He's never really got along with his dad since he was a
So he
kid.
can't cry. He can't cry for what
About that.
he can't cry for it. He hasn't allowed himself to go to the other side of being a man.
To allow himself to mourn that he doesn't have the kind of father that he was.
Yeah, exactly. The grief that
Makes sense.
the grief that he has, like I was talking to someone who's walking down the path and I go, hi, how are you? You're looking like there's something bothering you. And people just sometimes blurt out something to me because they trust me. And he says, yeah, my father or my birth dad just passed away and I'm more sad about it than I thought I would be.
Hmm.
And I said, "Because and I said, "Can I give you something?" "Because you're grieving the dream that you had. You're grieving the man that you wanted to have. You're grieving your little kid in you is dreaming of that person that you wish that would have driven up and picked you up when you were younger. You're grieving this idea of this person." And when we go past the pain, the anger, which is actually pain, which is actually sorrow, which is actually fear, and a lot of people are angry instead of sad. It's a defense mechanism.
Mhm.
And so when you think of somebody really angry, ask the question, what are they sad about? And be willing to accept that, it's manly to cry. It's manly to cry, and I know that's going against a lot of generational belief system. But I'm gonna tell you, it's manly to cry.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't have to do it out in the front of, 150 people, right? But we can cry.
Yeah.
It's okay. Women do it much easier.
Yeah. I am getting a lot better at it, but I'm still a little self-conscious about it. But that happened with just doing, shadow work for years and years. And when I went to the anger management thing for 3 years in a row, 3
Mhm.
years every Thursday night. And a lot of the, things we're talking about, a lot of us men's anger comes from is that we stuff everything because we're not allowed to cry. According, society says you're weak or you're something's wrong with you. And the
Exactly.
instructor would always say, "How's that working for you guys?" And we go, "No, not very good."
And that's why do you think so many men have heart attacks? Because they've had to close up their heart
Yeah.
chakra,
Oh, that's
right?
right. Yeah.
They had
Mhm.
to close down their heart, they couldn't feel, right?
Mhm.
Or they have brain aneurysms or brain problems or or it's because, they're not able to think fully. They're not able to appreciate who they are fully, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's even interesting now when I look back at the hundreds of people I've helped to visit the afterlife, about 70% of them are women. About 30% are that come for these sessions are men, and 70% are women. So that has to say something pretty cool about women, I think, that your hearts are a lot more open, they're a lot more vulnerable.
Uh-huh.
Us men are afraid to be vulnerable, um, and that sort of thing. So um, yeah, just an observation there. And what about now stomach issues? It seems like a lot of my clients now, a lot of when I'm doing the tapping with them and I have them think of a problem of some abuse or something they've suffered, and I have them, it says, okay, when you're feeling from a scale of 1 to 10, this energy, that how bad it is, and they'll say, oh, it's a 7 or an 8. I know it's something pretty serious. And they'll say, where do you feel it in your body? And the vast majority of people seem to feel it in their gut, in their stomach. That's where the pain shows up in their body,
Mm-hmm.
from past abuses and things. That's the most common place, I think, where a lot of us hold stuff. But I don't know what that means exactly. Why
Well,
they.
the stomach is the third chakra, right? And basically, it's how do we feel about others,
Mm,
and how do others feel about us? And it's a lot of that perception. So it's a lot of the if you're empaths, right?
mhm.
If you're an empath and you okay, so I've been doing a course, and this course came up with a study, and I need to get the name of the study, but 80% of the nervous system reads the world around us.
Wait a minute, 87% of the what now?
No, 60%, is it 80 or 60% of the nervous system reads the messages around our world. The
Read.
rest is the mind.
Oh,
So the body gives messages to the mind more than the mind gives messages to the body,
oh,
right? And a lot of us take in the energies through the third chakra,
which is the stomach area.
which is the stomach area. Also, I would like to ask somebody, how are you digesting your life?
Actually, now too, when somebody gets, I've seen some, times when people get the news that somebody they cared about has died or something. First thing they do is they grab their stomach and they kind of
Mhm.
fall to their knees. So it
Mhm.
shows you that that's so what observation is. So that energy just comes right in there, and it gets. Or what happens when people see something traumatic? First thing they do is they throw up. When they
Mhm.
can't handle something that they've seen. So
Okay,
they're
so stomach. I'm going to read part of my book, okay?
okay.
Difficulty digesting life. Assimilating new information, feeling stuck in a pattern of fear, limitation, worry, guilt, despair,
Wow.
behaving behaving in superior, arrogant, controlling way, thinking that you are better than others, or feeling inferior and second best. At times, obsessed and demanding, wanting everything your own way. Difficulty expressing yourself and dealing with rejection. Feeling attacked like you've been punched in the stomach. So those are possible contributions.
Man, that's a lot that covers. So you can see why that covers a lot of different areas there.
Yes,
Where people
exactly. So the way to do this is to put your hand on your stomach, place your intention where your stomach is, right? And then ask for divine healing intentions. I ask you to release all despair, arrogance, whatever you're feeling, right? Um, uh, uh, it's uh, I asked to release all despair, and I like to use the word release or transform, because I understand that sometimes when we transform darkness to light, it turns gray to light, right? But it has to go through the transformation of the process of healing, more than just saying, "Ah, you're going to fly off into the air." Right? Sometimes it's easier for us to picture it transforming. So if I can give that to people, is ask for energy to transform. So fear transform into trust, right? It's like growing. Misunderstanding going into understanding. Uh, m- Unrespect of life into respecting of life. So you're transforming it, right? Um, Attached to my divine intelligence, I ask you to release or transform all worry, arrogance, guilt, and attacked from my stomach, as well as points of view of all patterns, and the positive and the negative charges that contribute to this condition. And then repeat the word clear, clear, clear. Okay. And then the shoulder. Okay, Amanda, if you're still here, I'm going to read this. Remember, we can always rewatch this, right? So, shoulders. And a lot of people have problems with shoulders, which actually, if you have problems with shoulders, it can come down into your arms and your wrists and your
Yeah,
fingers, right?
that's what it seems with her. It seems to be getting worse. Like it's
Mhm.
spreading, you know, or
Okay,
like it,
so here's possible contribution factors: carrying the weight of the world, holding on to too much strain, stress, and worry, feeling insecure, unsure, frightened, overwhelmed, sad, rejected, distrustful, and discouraged, easily hurt, drooping shoulders,
mhm,
um, droopy shoulders indicating the lack of joy and fun. Seriousness, focusing on the problem rather than the solution.
mhm. And here's something that just brought up in my mind too when you're talking about that. So somebody that's had much mistrust in their life. In other words, where you've not been able to trust anybody, or you feel that you're, um, nobody's honest with you, nobody treats you properly, so you can't really trust anybody.
Exactly.
How does one begin to gain trust with people? I mean, I can see why some people get so skeptical that they just don't trust anybody, and it's just very, very hard. I mean, I'm just trying to think about, how does one begin to trust? Because some people actually don't deserve our trust, in a sense, right?
Mhm.
But and I think when you go through life, when you don't, when you've been with so many untrustful people, um, you kind of get street smart after a while, and you don't just automatically trust people until they earn the trust.
Mhm.
Right. So I get, maybe that's answering my question, is that the people that are there have to begin to earn your trust. It's not something in a sense that you have to do. It's something that others have to do, by their actions and everything. And when somebody is being that untrustful kind of person again, I tell people, like, they have friends like that. I say, well, maybe that's not really a good friend. I mean, someone that you're with that you can't trust. It's time for new friends, you know.
Exactly, but I would say it starts simpler.
Start what?
Start simpler. You
Okay.
have to retrain the nervous system, right? The nervous system has been in PTSD moments with trust, right?
Yeah.
So, going into that, trust. Okay, I'm going to trust that I can get in the car and get to work on time and safely. Oh, I got there. I'm safe, right? So I trusted that process. I'm going to trust that I can call up so and so and have a good conversation. And this is somebody who you can trust, right? It
Mhm.
would be like calling you. I could trust that I'm going to have a good conversation, right? Or another friend, I can trust that I'm going to have a good conversation. There might be some stretch and pull in it, but it's going to be a good conversation, right?
Mhm.
Do those things. I can trust that I can go to this restaurant and have a good meal or a meal, right? Use the word I trust in your language so that your nervous system and your mind gets to know that you're in the moment of using the word trust, right?
Mhm.
I'm worthy of trusting this process. I'm vulnerable enough to trust this process. So start putting some words in front of it that can help you stretch and pull that understanding, right?
Mhm.
And then if you're willing to do that, then when you go into, let's say if you're getting into, I don't want to say some kind of relationship, or you're having a conversation with someone and you don't know if you can trust them, then trust the conversation where it is. So what's the weather like? What are
Yeah.
we doing? Where's it going? How you been? What are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Conversate with things you can trust. Then, if you can, and you go to a second conversation, then give them information that basically you know that if they said something about it, that it wouldn't be hurtful. But it would be just enough that if you knew that in the group of friends that you were, that it would be spread around, right?
Mhm.
So let's say that you maybe said, please don't say this, but I really want you to. I just got to share this that um, Joe went out to dinner without me last night. Is that going to make or break anything? Right?
Mhm.
Joe went out to dinner last night without me. Some people would, and I was hungry. And then
Yeah.
you don't leave anymore, right? So you give information that isn't very heavy in the trust factor, right? And then you wait and see what happens with that. And if nothing gets said, then you know that you can trust maybe just a little bit more.
Mhm.
And that's building up the trust. But that last statement is after you trust going to the grocery store, going to getting out, having a conversation with a coworker, all these different trust factors, right? That you're building up that trust and using the word trust. I'm vulnerable enough to trust. I'm, all those layers, then you can get to the deep part of the relationship, right?
Well, it seems like the biggest trust thing people can have is when you get into a difficult situation and to trust that the universe is going to make it okay, or that you're going to, like, sometimes I've been traveling and broken down out in the middle of nowhere. And what's really got me through that a lot of times that I go, okay, I just have to trust I'm going to figure this out. It's going
Mhm.
to be okay. It's not the end of the world. Well, it seems like it at the moment, but when I kind of just let go and trust, it seems like the universe. I mean, I was with a friend that had that happen. He's a very dysfunctional friend. He's one of my best friends, and he just lives by the seat of his pants all the time. I mean, everybody called him, crazy, crazy. And he just, I learned so much from him just trusting. I was on a crazy thing with him. We end up in the middle of Idaho somewhere, I think, in the middle of the night, and we ran out of gas, because he wasn't responsible enough to oh, I'll make it to the next town. No, we're miles and miles from anywhere in the middle of these old country roads or something. And he just smiling still. He said, oh, no problem. I'll just walk to town and or whatever. God will send me something or whatever. So he gets about 200 feet, and all of a sudden a car comes by in the middle of nowhere, like in Iowa or something. All of a sudden, he's hugging this other guy and stuff like that. He comes back to the car and he goes, "Well, this is my buddy from college, from California. He just happened to be driving down that road." And that guy got him in the car, went and got that, brought the gas back, and we were just fine. But he just, and I've seen that that's just happens to him over and over and over again.
But
It's like,
that's the thing is there's so many times where I use the word I trust, I trust, I trust.
yeah,
And even after 35 years of being with this wonderful man that I'm with, there's sometimes I have to be vulnerable enough to have a conversation with him
yeah,
because we're embarking on a whole new generation of our relationship, right?
yeah,
And I have to say, okay, I'm going to trust being vulnerable here. I'm going to trust being vulnerable here. I'm going to trust
yeah,
being vulnerable here. And he, in his old personality, would have thrown it in my face. So it's not always safe feeling,
yeah,
but we're trusting each other more. And I'm trusting more and more this process. So we're going to have to start trusting somebody. And sometimes it's not ourselves.
yeah,
But that's the thing is I trust that I'm always going to be okay. Right? I'm
yeah,
always gonna be okay. Now, okay might look different to other people, to everybody else differently, but in my world, I'm okay.
yeah. I know I've had to trust a lot. I mean, when I was, first became a therapist, and Natasha knows the story, but I just, looking back now and I go, well, I don't know if I could do that again, but I guess I think I could. But, and I decided I only wanted to be from being a comedian for 30 years and then having to, all of a sudden now I'm a hypnotherapist. That's completely, one side of the thing to the other. Um, and I didn't want to if I was going to build a clientele, most therapists have to have other jobs for a while because you don't have enough money coming in.
Mhm.
So I just decided to give up my apartment, and I was single. I said, I'm just going to live in my car, and only do therapy because that's all I wanted to do. And so I'd get a client, and then a couple of days later, they'd call me and they go, "Hey, you helped me out of this thing. my sister, but she wants some help too, but she lives way down in San Diego. She lives, 100 miles or 200 miles away. And I said, okay, so I just trust that was happening for a reason. And every time I just trusted there, I tell you, I met the most interesting people. It would make an interesting TV show, but people that it just seemed that I was the only one that could have been there for them, that could understand them and could help them with their issue. And some of them were, I thought at the time, above my pay grade when I was first starting. But after a while with helping them, and I realized I'm just right where I'm supposed to be. So I spent 8 years doing that. And it was, when I look back, it was the most freeing time of my life. I got my total expenses down to less than $100, except for food and gas. You didn't have rent, I didn't have cable to pay, you didn't have all that stuff. And so I was able to do sessions for, I ended up doing a lot of free sessions for people that would run into, I ran into someone. I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She had an issue. She was the waitress, and it was late at night, and we started talking. She asked what I did, and I told her, and she goes, "Oh my God, I could really use this." So I said, "Well, I'm just going to be sleeping in my car out here. Tomorrow I'll come to your house and help you." So I ended up in this trailer park in the middle of New Mexico doing a session for her. She gave me a few bucks, but it was like, you just know it was kind of meant to be. So
Exactly. And that's the thing is that if we open up our light and trust and trust that process of who we are, oh my gosh, we can do that. But going kind of got squirreled off of the body thing here, but
Well, I was going to
we're
say,
down to the last couple minutes here. So
well, let's bring it back on there now, because I'm thinking, just knowing, in other words, that book will tell you probably what your issues are, but then to get that pain to go away, you have to do something about those issues. In other words, you have to change the way you look at things, to change the way that you think, or get rid of some of your anger, or a lot of it has to do with forgiving people and everything. Because just because someone learns where it goes doesn't mean it's going to go away. I mean,
exactly.
there's work.
Like Amanda was saying that she's been doing acupuncture and massages, but it hasn't really been going away. But where is your nervous system base? Where is your emotional base? Where is your understanding that things can transform? And some of us have had payment, and I mean this with love, because I've had to. I can hold on to this myself, that I had to work through this statement myself.
Yeah.
Getting payment for being in pain. We've gotten payoff. I know for me, when I was in pain, I didn't have to vacuum. I didn't have to strain noodles. I didn't have to clean the shower. I didn't have to do the heavy shoveling, right? There's a payoff for being able to sit and do nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to tell my body, okay, we can't do that anymore. You can't, I cannot be paid off for being in pain. Now I can respect my pain. I can respect you being in pain, but I'm not going to be getting a payoff for being in pain. And that was part of my transformation, is that I didn't get the payoff anymore for being in pain. Now, maybe I waited a couple days to clean the shower, right? Or I changed how I clean the shower, or I'd wait for certain days to vacuum. I would pre-tell my body, okay, we're going to vacuum, but that's all I'm going to do for the day. Right? And my husband being 6 foot, I would ask him, can you get the ceiling for me so I didn't have to go over my head? Right? And then I got a vacuum cleaner that can detach, so it has a lighter head. So I maneuvered my world around me so that my body didn't get the payoff for being in pain. But I had to acknowledge it, that I had to give it notification, do it, and give it reward for going through it. If I get a chiropractic adjustment, do I go out and do yard work afterwards? No. I give it the benefit of the doubt, and I work with it. Now I may do yard work the day after, or the day after that, but but sometimes I try to do yard work the 2 or 3 days beforehand, give myself a break so I'm not so tight. And then I go into get my chiropractic adjustment afterwards.
Here's one thing. I seem to run into a lot of people that had fibromyalgia, which everybody knows now. But back back in the 90s, they were still coming up with a name for this because so much of the population, and especially women, it was hitting mostly, were
Mhm.
having just aches and pains almost everywhere in their body. And they a lot of times the doctors couldn't find anything physically wrong with them, so they would just give them pills for anxiety or stress or whatever.
Mhm.
But a doctor who was specialized in fibromyalgia wrote a book, and he finally found out, at least for him, that most of the issues with the women recovering with fibromyalgia had to do with um, issues of forgiveness. In other words, they were holding um, so much what I want to call it. There was so much energy um, of being angry and not and stuff and not forgiving and everything that showed up in their body. So what he would do, he would get them with a psychologist, and they would start dealing with issues, and their fibromyalgia went away. So that's anybody out there that's suffering from that, that might be a clue. Like who in your life are you still holding negative thoughts about, or anger, or wish they'd get theirs, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And who haven't you forgiven? And find out that it might help.
Well,
um,
and too, a lot of and some of the fibromyalgia could be someone who had, like, um, trauma-induced ADHD.
had what?
Trauma-induced
Oh,
ADHD.
yeah,
So they're always or and PTSD that, you kept running, your nervous system was in fear and flight a lot.
yeah,
And if your body is in fear and flight a lot, your nervous system goes, and the nerves go, you know, because a couple of people that I knew that came down with fibromyalgia were people who would work, you know, 60-hour weeks, and they had a perfectionism, and they couldn't do anything else, but and then they were single moms, and then they had, da 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 da, right?
yeah. Hmm.
And I know for me, I have a child who has fibromyalgia. Now thinking I have to realize that life was life, but when I was carrying this child, my mom was coming down with Lou Gehrig's disease. And I just lost my dad 3 years before that. So my nervous system was kind of messed up, right? As I was carrying this child, going through some stress. And then the first year of life was my mom passing away and needing to negotiate a lot of stress. And then dad was an alcoholic at that time. So there was a lot of things that my kid was growing up in of uncertainty. And then 3 years after that, then my uncle came down with Lou Gehrig's disease and, had to go through mom, so the first 4 years of life, there's key people that were passing away in her life, right?
Yeah,
And mom was in a survival mode. Dad was in survival mode, being an alcoholic. Her nervous system was basically smushed by the time she was 4 years old, right?
yeah,
And then she had to deal with the stress of being, kind of my husband wasn't too happy with family sometimes. So, being the alcoholic and a depressed alcoholic, that, there wasn't the happiness in our family. So there again is lack of joy,
yeah,
right? So I can understand that there's that, but I would look at, yes, non-forgiveness. But why is there no forgiveness or lack of forgiveness? So I
yeah,
know my kid has a hard time with the things that dad did, the way that my kid was talked to. Even though I tried to buffer, I couldn't buffer everything.
yeah, yeah. So we all have to deal with that. So I guess today we just wanted to make sure people would make that connection, that their illnesses usually aren't just illnesses for no reason. You
Uh-huh.
know, sometimes illnesses you have, I mean, or a lot of times illnesses are just, we cause ourselves to be sick in a way by just the way we're living our lives. So um, look in your life and just see how much uptightness you have. Even that's a good word, uptight, because when you're uptight, you close everything off, and your body can't. The worker bees that need to go to where they need to go to make your body run optimally can't get to where they're going because all the doors are shut, because you're constricted. And so when we learn to relax and we learn to forgive it just opens those doors. People, check out on my website on visittheafterlife.com. If you go to traditional therapy, I've got some good videos up there on tapping, havening touch. Up there are two modalities you can learn really, really quickly, and they open up your passageways. We even have in the video on there, you'll see a man that had multiple sclerosis, and all he did was this psychological acupuncture for months. He went up from being a wheelchair to crutches to doing jumping jacks, and that's all that he did. And it's they couldn't find any traces of MS in his body anymore. But it's because by doing the tapping and these points, you open up all the meridians. All the meridians open up these portals so your body can get in there and do what it's supposed to do.
The body wants to heal. And
Yep.
Eddie, thank you for popping in. Somebody just made a comment. What about lifelong depression? And that's an interesting one, because I can tell you that depression is a lot of chemical in the body. And what chemical is the body working off of? So sometimes when we get depressed, there's like a dopamine scenario that comes on, and that's the word that's coming to me intuitively. I'm not a doctor by any means, but this is what I'm getting intuitively. And so sometimes when we get that dopamine or that energy, that payoff from an emotion, the body says, oh, it doesn't recognize if this is a good or a bad scenario. It just recognizes that, I'm getting something from it, right?
Mhm.
So I would say, Eddie, if you are one that deals with lifelong depression, there's many different scenarios. Either there's something chemically wiring, which we can always rewire our brain. There's some things that are a little bit harder to rewire than not, right? But the body wants to heal. Does depression run in your family? So then is that a DNA thing? Do we have DNA that's depression?
Mhm.
And then we also have one that's where we've practiced to be depressed in our life. So who has depressed you in your life, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes we have to do things in spite of it. So, in spite of what your mind wants to say, what in spite of our emotions that want to have, in spite of it. So, can you find joyful things in spite of your depression? I'm sorry, I'm going to pleasantly disagree with you, and I'm going to dishonor you, and I'm going to be happy,
Mhm.
right? I'm going to have joyful moments, and I'm going to disrespect you, and I'm going to have depression. You're going to have to take a seat back, because I can tell you a lot of us have these emotions that stand in front of us, and they don't let us see anything else, right? Ask depression to sit down and find ways to get a little bit. Most of us who are depressed do things like drink, the pot. There's a lot of things that we do to have that creates more of a depressed moment. I can
Yeah.
tell you, I lived with a man. I still live with a man who has been very depressed. He is becoming less and less depressed because of the fact that he's working on his health.
Well,
His B's, his D's, his intuitions, his
yeah.
understandings, his mindset, his, like I used to be able to ask him, "What are you grateful for?" And he'd go, and now he can tell me 5 things that he's grateful for in a day.
There's an institute in Northern California, and I used to know the name of the book, but I haven't thought of it in years, and it's not coming to me. And they specialize in depression, and they were like the foremost, place to go to if you were clinically depressed. And they found out that almost half of their clients, the reason they were depressed was because of their diet and what they ate. And when they got them to change their diets, the people's depressions went away.
Oh, that red dye 40, check in with your drinks. If you're drinking Monster drinks or eating
Yep.
Cheetos or any of those kinds of things, they are. Don't get me off on this
Yeah.
soapbox with the government trying to get. I'm gonna stop now, so before I start going off on it, right? Whoo! Check in with your diet. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that was a big, and they were surprised, and they just said, "Oh my gosh, it's just, we're making ourselves depressed because the chemicals that we're putting in our body are pulling us down. You
Hmm.
know,
How many drinks are, and that's one thing my husband has stopped is a lot of those, like the pops and
no, good
the
thing.
Gatorade and all those.
Yep, good stuff. And I'm saying that, and I still like I had what 2 Cokes last week, and I hadn't had any in about 6 months, and I drank it. Again, I went, but I used to have one about every day. So I've got to say I'm doing a lot better. That way.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'll show you next time. Yesterday, I got the device. I'm looking at it right now. The Monocore device
Mhm.
that I think I mentioned to you last month, and it finally came in, and I'm getting trained on it tonight. And I messed around with it myself last night a bit, but it's going to take. There's so many. I almost feel I have to have a medical background to understand some of the stuff. Um,
I hear you. I hear you.
but I'll let you know how that goes when I get that training, because that's supposed to be way better than acupuncture, because they're doing it with artificial intelligence, which is sending the right frequencies to the organs that it sees. That like
Mhm.
it does a whole scan in like 3 minutes, and it'll show you a diagram of what's normal in the organs of your body, and
Uh-huh.
then it'll show you what's out of balance. And then another thing that you do, it'll show you what frequencies needed to be to put those things back in balance. And then you say, okay, to the liver, it needs 5 minutes of this thing, and then your stomach needs, so many minutes of this. And so you sit there, and it goes from one to the other, going to the different organs of your body that um, sending the right vibrations to them to open up the passageways so your body can heal itself naturally. Um, so we've seen some miracle. The people that I told you about, their husband got rid of stage 4 cancer in 10 weeks. And
Wow.
the tumor just went away, and they couldn't even find a cancer cell in his body after that. So
Wow.
letting the body do what it's, supposed to
The
be doing.
body wants to heal if we give it a chance, and half of it's staying off of our food.
Yeah.
Like the government wanting to have cereal more valuable than meat and vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm not going to go off on that book. So depression. Let me get to this real quick, and then we got to go. 176. So contributing factors. 176 for depression. So this is the book I'm reading out of. Eddie, if you're still here. So depression. Where did it start? Where does it start? Depression becomes a mental problem for many people who are overwhelmed by pressures to make ends meet, survival in our increasingly complex society. Hopelessness, depression can arise from deep disappointment, betrayal, and loss of loved ones.
Hmm.
Failure, anger, turn inward, an accident or major trauma, and physical conditions. Depression can make you feel helpless, misguided, confused, fatigued, and melancholy. You may feel that life has lost its meaning. Okay. Uh,
Too, what he could do, I bet you if he just put on Google, and you put Google and put foods that make you feel depressed, and look at that list and see if you're eating any of those things, that are
Mhm.
proven to cause depression. I bet you, there's got to be something on that, too.
And I talk to my depression and my grief and my emotions like a friend. So, what do you want to tell me? And then trust the first thing that comes to you. Talk
Yeah.
to them as friends. Hey, dude, we've come a long ways. You've tried to slow me down on my life purpose here, but yet at the same time, I gotta do something. I want to feel valuable. Can we work together on this? And either way, you're gonna come along for the ride.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing to have a life.
I love that. I love that when you do that kind of thing. You've got me talking to myself more too. And it really helps. You know,
You're not crazy when you talk to yourself.
but
So,
one thing I have my clients do, like when they have chronic pain, even in hypnosis, when I put them in hypnosis, I have them make friends with the pain, like see it as a person and talk to it, and welcome it and hug it and embrace it, and just even doing that, a lot of their pain goes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead
That's the
of
thing.
like
We
this,
push our life
go, hey,
away. Yeah,
hey, pain.
we push our life away instead of embracing it, saying, "You're not in charge, but be a part of my team.
Yeah,
Be a part of who I am. I am depressed. Okay, but what am I going to do about it?" So, what she says is place your hands on parts of your body that you feel depressed and mostly
mm,
breathe into that area a few moments, allowing the emotions to rise up to the surface with little resistance, right? Relax your hands. Say divine intelligence using orangish red ray of light, sweeping away all depression, disappointment, dullness, helplessness from your system. Help me find my way out of this heavy, dreary state and renew my life force so that I can be and see the brighter side of life. Fully, joyfully, laughter and fun. Restore my enthusiasm and the thirst of life so that I can contribute to the humanity and give back all the kindness and assistance that I've been blessed with. Thank you. Clear, clear, clear.
yeah. But I think, depression, there's almost everybody suffers from it some. Oh yeah, I was going to say this end with showing that again there. The Secret Language of Your Body by uh,
Ina Siegel.
Ina Siegel. Okay. And that should help. Hopefully that'll help people that way too.
Okay.
Um, so if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I got to have something to eat before I get trained on the monocore here in a little bit. I'm excited about that just to see where that's going to go. You can get a hold of me at visittheafterlife.com. Actually, I have a whole new website coming up, Natasha, in about by this time next week. And I had a professional do it. I thought I did a new one and I thought it was much better than my other one. But then somebody came along that was a real professional and said, hey, you need to do this and this. And so I had to spend a couple $1,000s, but it looks really good. It'll be coming up in about a week. But on there, it has some great videos on the tapping, uh,
Mm-hmm.
a thing that explains hypnosis. People can see how valuable the Havening touch is and how they can learn it.
I
And
know.
T, yeah, on there some good videos. And then there's some good videos on there on if anybody out there wants to actually go to the other side to heaven and back for a couple hours through the Newton Institute and our protocol. And we've had over 70,000 successful sessions now. And, it's interesting now because there's people talking about having near-death experiences. And I almost feel like I'm taking the wind out of their sails a bit because I'm going, well, to visit the other side now, we can you go in trance, anybody can do it, and spend hours there, They don't
Mhm.
have
But
a time.
everybody has their wake up. Everybody has a chance for their wake up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But just shows you how the world is changing, Natasha, now.
Oh, it is. It
Having these,
is.
and what about you, Natasha? Now, how's your sessions going and stuff? And I
Oh,
know you.
I'm having a lot of gifted moments where I'm praying that the conversation we have and the work we're doing, and sometimes I do the DNA past life sessions that can go in and break through some of these blockages that people have,
Yeah.
and I'm just praying that this world is coming to a better place. But you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com.
Okay.
I love to support people. I also do 2 to 3 minute videos Monday through Friday to just sometimes just a word of just support. And sometimes it's, what are we doing with this? Like I'm going to do a video on, I was making pancakes and I I poured them all out like this
Yeah.
and I
Little
ended up getting
pancakes.
a butterfly
Oh wow, that's a pancake. That's really
out of my pancake.
wow.
And so I made a video on how you can find inspiration in life.
Yeah.
right? And you have to find the simplest, goofiest things. Who would see a butterfly? I would see a butterfly, but at the same time, though, we got it. And then as I ate it, I was like, oh, I'm eating a butterfly, right?
Yeah.
I'm eating the love of the universe. I'm eating inspiration. Because butterfly is about transformation, coming out of the cocoon. So, Eddie, if you're still watching, think about yourself in a cocoon that you're breaking free. Your wings are breaking free. Say with you, Amanda, also, you're breaking free, right? You're breaking free of that moment. And I just want you to remember that we're all loved. So if you want some inspiration, please watch Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Pacific time. I have had there's a show that I did, I think last week or the week before, where it was on trauma-induced ADHD and PTSD. And it's not necessarily the PTSD that is with people who've been raped and stuff.
Or
It's that PTSD that, like my dyslexia, that's been beaten down over and over again, told I was stupid.
yeah.
Why am I? That was PTSD, and so I'm hoping and praying that this work that I'm doing and the work that the universe is asking me to do, that I can help people. But you can
Yep.
find me at Natasha Venter at angelicclarifications.com. Last minute to get my older prices. The 1st of March, it's going to go up by $25. And on most of my sessions, and more on the bundle sessions, and then you can find me at Natasha Venter AC.
Great, Natasha. That's great. Well, I'll
Um,
see you in a month.
in a month, you're always here the third Sunday of every month.
Yeah, it's going to be into March. I will be. Let's see. I'm not sure when the third thing is. Anyway, I'm taking another trip to LA. Next month will be my busiest month ever. I already have 10 sessions booked for Life Between Lives, and I got more coming. So it's almost like one every 3 days. So, oof. But I'm
Good
going
job.
to
It's the 20th. It's March 20th.
March 20th. Okay. On the 20th, yeah, I will be in LA at that time. So wherever I'm at, I might be at Carrie's place down there, whatever. So I'm going to drive down there and do that. And you see the bruises on my face? Okay.
Uh-huh.
I just had a little operation on both sides, and they just had to stick some needles in there, and so I'm just letting them go down. It's gonna take a little bit. I thought my whole eyes would when I had a hair transplant up here. This is all not transplant, but they took it from the sides of my hair and then they replanted it up here. And the next day, I had two big black eyes. They had to put so much stuff in there. So anyway, a little
Well,
there. I almost forgot until I looked and I go, "When it looks like I got beat up," but the guy had punched me equally on both sides. Bam, bam.
I love you.
Yeah.
Well, blessings to you, Regan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
And
gotta run again. I
will,
gotta I just had that long session. I gotta at 6 o'clock I gotta be ready and I gotta set up the computer and all that stuff. So uh I will see you next month.
yeah. And
And
I don't know what we're going to be talking about yet. And I will be live next Wednesday at 4 o'clock Pacific time.
right.
Not sure what I'm going to be talking about yet, but please know that everybody is so dearly loved. And this is the time when you wake up in the morning, what are the things that you're thinking of? That will help you. When you go to bed, what is the last things you're thinking of? Make them more positive than negative. It will make a difference in your realities. That's a great time to manifest. What do you want in your life? Think about what you can do for yourself. It's time to move forward, my dears. You're loved. May the angels support you in your journey.
We'll see you
Bye
all.
now.
All right. Bye, Natasha. See you
Bye.
later.